Good afternoon and welcome to the Likewise Group PLC final results investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time by the Q&A tab situated in the right-hand corner of your screen. Just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Tony Brewer, CEO. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Thank you, Mark, and welcome everybody, and thanks for taking the time to attend. So this is our full year result for 2021. I'll just flip forward. So I guess the key highlight really is after the development of the business and investment since 2018 that we've produced a profit of 1.6 million in the year. That's been through an increase in sales revenue, as you can see, of 28% up to 60.5 million. Improvement in the gross margin, principally through the product mix, up to 30%. Operating expenses reducing from over 30% to 27.4%, hence the profit of 1.6 million, which is really encouraging for our development. Furthermore, that allows us to actually declare our maiden dividend. That's actually a dividend technically in 2022, which will be explained in our full results, but it's really for the performance in 21. And the board certainly is committed to a progressive dividend policy in line with the earnings of the business going forward. Net assets increasing strongly from 11.6 million in 2020 through the flotation on AIM and the subsequent placing an open offer to acquire Valley, increasing now to 38.7 million, and sat alongside that gross cash now of 8.4 million. Okay, forward to 22, a positive start to the year, and very importantly, I'll explain a bit more as we go through the presentation, our distribution capability enlarged from 8 million cubic feet to now 15 million cubic feet of warehouse space. And that allows us to extend our sales and marketing initiatives, both through the recruitment of additional sales representatives and also the ongoing launch of new products. And importantly, the two acquisitions that we've made in 2022, important strategic acquisition of Valley and followed on by the bolt-on acquisition of Delta, really allows us to take the business forward. The floor covering market in the UK is in excess of £2 billion at manufacturer pricing, so gives us 5 to 6% market share and lots of market to go for. Key driver is, of course, house moves, and when a house move flows into a refurbishment, we see the bulk of our orders are one cut length or one order for room size quantities, typically 20 square meters, refurbishing one room in the house at any one time. The timeline was still a young business, started in 2018, developed the business, but really propelled forward since the summer of 2020. The flotation on AIM, as I mentioned, and then the major strategic acquisition of Valley, followed on by Delta. Management team, we've got an extensive experience in the floor covering industry across our team of people that have joined us over the last few years, and we have a team very much can grow this business and take it forward for the future. Very importantly, our logistics network, as I've mentioned, we've now increased this from 8 million cubic square feet to 15 million. Just going around the country. In Glasgow, we currently have under construction a new distribution centre there to rehouse that business. Newcastle moved into new premises at the beginning of this year. Leeds, we've freed up capacity by the launch of the business in Birmingham, allowing more cutting capacity and storage capacity there. Manchester, we are still sourcing up premises to move A&A, which has been a very successful business since we acquired it beginning of 2020. In Derby, which is part of the Valley network, we are currently or commenced extending that property up to 52,000 square feet. In Newport, we actually have an unutilised warehouse currently, which we plan to use in the third quarter. We've just opened in Newbury to service likewise into the south of England. Erith, which is the hub for Valley, and then Sudbury, we still have plans to extend that. This chart really shows the geographical presence that we have and the opportunities for the future. You'll see quite clearly that both Valley and likewise have little or no presence in the south and southwest of England and South Wales, and also the coloured in areas of likewise. There's a number of fledgling businesses there where we have a tremendous opportunity to expand the business over the coming years. Okay, so it's all about developing our market presence, particularly through independent retailers and flooring contractors. We do have opportunities with multiple retailers, particularly with our matting and rug business. Very much focused on residential and commercial. As we have done over the years, we'd like to recruit more established sales representatives with customer relationship and product knowledge, and we have plans, particularly in the third quarter, for an extensive launch of new product and display initiatives. That really demonstrates the sales team and the sales management. I think sales management very well established in terms of numbers, but we will continue to recruit external salespeople supported by experienced internal people as well. Given that we're a new business, our market presence is still limited, and we see many ways of extending that through various forms of display, whether it be lecterns, wall stands, or other displays to support our overall sampling program. And as I've said, particularly in the third quarter, we would look to extend that and beyond, of course. So that all culminates in the sales graph you'll see there. The turquoise line represents really the like-for-like likewise business, so you can see an upward trend there. And then the top red line includes the benefit of Valley and more latterly Delta, so an upward progression on the sales line. In terms of just going back to the numbers, you see obviously sales revenue increased, gross margin improved, operating costs under control whilst we're still investing in the business as well, and that important 1.6 million profit before tax on an underlying basis. And then balance sheet, again, just reiterating the increase in net assets from 11.5 million to 22.3 and now at 38.7, and supported by gross cash at 8.4 million. So I think we have a strong balance sheet to take the business forward for the future. We've introduced this graph now showing both the net cash, which we've shown previously, and also the gross cash. So gross cash available for investment sat around the 8 million and allows us to invest in projects such as Birmingham, but also you'll see the drop where we acquired the Delta business at the beginning of April. But it puts us in a very good position to take the company forward. And that balance sheet is very much underpinned by the fact that we have 4 effective freehold properties now in the group, and that very much strengthens our position. So just summarising, we've made a positive start to 2022. I think annualised we're certainly through the 100 million sales revenue now. The market forecasts demonstrate that we can deliver a 100% increase in earnings per share compared to 2021. We've obviously announced the main dividend, and as I've said earlier, it is the board's policy that we should have a progressive dividend in line with earnings. We've announced the potential for a share buyback. We have to have shareholder approval for this at the forthcoming AGM. The reason for just considering that is that the placing an open offer to acquire Valley was significantly oversubscribed, and to support shareholder demand, we decided to take probably more cash than we actually needed to at that time. So given the current share price, it would only be right for the board to consider that share buyback possibility. And as we've said, we sat with net cash for investment for the future and supported by that freehold property portfolio. So I think it's fair to say that we have made significant steps forward, both organically with the business and also with obviously the acquisition of Valley, which was extremely important, followed by the acquisition of Delta. And with that distribution infrastructure and the sales teams we've developed, we certainly have the opportunity to deliver our medium-term objectives and beyond. Thank you.
Tony, thank you very much for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab situated on the top right-hand corner of your screen. But just while Tony opens up the Q&A tab and takes a few moments to review those questions submitted today, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Tony, as you can see, we've received a number of questions throughout today's presentation, and thank you to the investors for submitting those. Could I just ask you to read out those questions and give responses where it is appropriate to do so, and I'll pick up from you at the end.
Okay, thank you. So there's a question. I'm a shareholder and also a flooring retailer. I feel there is a lack of sampling available, and I think concentration be made to increase sales with existing clients rather than more buyers for small independents. I think with regard to the sampling, then I think from the period under COVID and people not being able to travel, that's certainly impacted on product development with manufacturers and the ability to get new ranges into the marketplace. I've mentioned previously, we certainly over the coming quarter and beyond, of course, have a lot of initiatives with new product. Discussing with Adrian earlier on about new product launches and making sure they're in a timely manner, supported by the display stands, both lecterns, wall stands and other forms of display, to really create that market demand and support the independent retailer and of course the flooring contractor with as much sampling and point of sale as possible. In terms of buyouts for small independents, I think we have distribution capacity now with what we've done with the acquisitions and also with the development of Birmingham, notwithstanding the capacity in Newport. So I think we will certainly consider acquisition of other companies, but that certainly doesn't inhibit the opportunity to put lots of sampling and point of sale into retailers. Second question, do you see a greater acquisition opportunities if there was a downturn? I'm not sure they always go hand in hand, to be honest, but we would certainly be considering acquisitions that are strategically fit with the business and can enhance our market position and, of course, return for shareholders. Question, what are the key objectives over the next 6 months? I think it's continuing to grow the business. Obviously, we've made a lot of progress in the last 18 months with the organic growth and the development of Likewise. Valley was a major step forward. We will keep that autonomous and as a separate business within the group as a whole. It's making sure Likewise perform, Valley performs, and that we deliver our objectives really, over the next 6 months. I think that is the end of the questions. Sorry, there's one just popped up. Acquisitions are clearly important to the pace of growth and typically competitive tenders. Do you have a traction relationship with targets that you leave you in prime position to win? I don't think we can wholly answer that. We will consider acquisitions as they crop up and as opportunities arise.
Tony, thank you for that. I think you managed to address all those questions from investors, and of course the company will review all questions submitted today and will publish those responses on the Investor Meet Company platform. But just before redirecting investors, provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to yourself. Tony, could I just ask you for a few closing comments?
Well, I think the key is the profitability of the business. We've made a lot of progress over the last 18 months, as I've said. Valley was a big step forward, and we're really pleased with the way that business is performing. There's just another question popped up to say, any plans to increase Valley geographically? Well, yeah, I think I demonstrated that earlier on the slide where it showed the geographical presence. Both in the southwest of England and South Wales, we would look for both Valley and Likewise to have an increased presence.
Tony, thank you very much for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close the session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Likewise Group PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. Good afternoon to you all.
Thank you. Thank you all.